Good morning.
Hey, hey, hey. Good morning. Happy Monday. Talent Talk is in the house. Oh, wow. I just squeaked. Huh?
You did squeak. So, what is Talent Talk, Davina? You are Davina, by the way, aren't you?
I am Davina, and you are Jurgen.
I
And
am.
I have like a little wispy alfalfa going on here. But anyway, Talent Talk is an opportunity for us every Monday just to get on the air on our social media air and talk about things that are that affect our real estate industry. And we typically have a guest on, and we're learning and we're growing and we're having fun. And
Yeah.
so that is Talent Talk.
And today we're trying to stay cool.
Yes, it is a scorcher today. It's supposed to be like 110, 111, I think is what the forecast is. It was hot yesterday and the day before. But, I have to say, I'm not crying about it.
Well, Donna was looking at it this morning, and good news. It sounds like at least in DuPont, the forecast went down just slightly, so no longer 111. We're looking at 109. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning, Donna.
That 2 degrees can make all the difference. Good morning, Pat.
Hey, Pat.
So let's see.
Yes, it is a few degrees can make a difference. And, it is a little muggy. So that humidity does add to the discomfort in that heat. So,
yeah, it can hold it in like it holds the heat inside you. You can't dissipate it through your sweat quite as easily. It doesn't evaporate as quickly. So, yes, so definitely need to stay cool. Yesterday, I'd made a commitment to keep running at least a mile plus every day. So went out into, I think I got out about 1 o'clock. So it was right around 99 going into 100. And oh my goodness, that is, I was sweaty.
oh gosh, you need to make sure you hydrate.
Oh, I did. Well, I did that yesterday. I'll do it again today.
Yeah, that's dangerous. Maybe you should wait till it cools off. You should have done your run already this morning.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, well. So we have every week we have our guest on. So the topic of today that we are going to talk is very relevant because it comes right in line with, an eviction moratorium that people have been waiting to be over. At least our landlords are waiting for it to be over, but we hear that it has been extended by the governor. So we're going to talk about what that means and some updates on some landlord tenant laws. And so if you are an owner or you're considering ownership of a rental, kind of the things that you have to be aware of, and just within this little pocket of time that we're dealing with right now. So
yeah, I mean, we talk about the home ownership, and one part of that equation of home ownership is for your own actual residence, your personal residence, your family residence. And another part is with investing. So this is really incredibly relevant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we have a wonderful guest that is going to be joining us here momentarily. But before we do, we have a trivia question, which, you know what? All you have to do is listen, and I think you'll find out the answer to this question during our broadcast. What's our trivia question?
Well, it is the eviction ban, and you mentioned it. The eviction ban in Washington State was extended to what date? So we didn't say what date it is quite yet, but it has been extended. It was supposed to expire at the end of this month, if I remember correctly. And it has been extended, though. So there's a lot of conversation surrounding that and what it all means. So, July 25th. I guess you have some options, and this is a good thing. A is July 25th. B is August 28th. C is September 30th. Or D is October 15th. Put your answers in the comments, and we'll see how you do.
Oh, we already have some answers coming in. Huh? October 15th, isn't that tax day? That will kind of run right along with the narrow. Mm-hmm.
And Donna, Donna says C, which was, Jared, what were those answers again? C was September 30th. A, July 25th. B, August 28th, and D, October 15th. All right. So, Davian, who do we have today? Who's gonna bring the knowledge that we're all looking for?
Well, we are going to talk to one of our local experts. She is actually one of the owner operators of a John Scott Seattle Northwest, which specializes in property management, and she's also very well noted in the RPM, so property rental management companies, and has a plethora of information to share with us. And so she's going to school us today. So let's welcome on LeeAnn Ghiglione.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you all?
We are wonderful, and we are so happy that you joined us this morning. We can't see your beautiful face, but we hear your voice, and we are glad you are here.
And I don't know why I'm not showing up, but that's funny. That's okay. I can hear you, and I can see you guys just fine.
Okay.
Bueno.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm in my heat gear today, even though it feels like I should be in more of a white shirt or something like that to reflect off the sunshine.
Jurgen, I was going to ask you about your shirt. Is that a white elephant?
It is.
Huh. Okay. It's like Christmas.
I think it's a Banana Republic thing. I'd have to go back. I'd have to actually check the tag to know for sure, but I believe that's the case.
There's a white elephant in the room. No, just kidding. Okay, here we go. Well, LeeAnn, as we are talking about some of the changes in regards to the eviction and not coming on, before we actually go there, I have some questions actually about rents and or tenants and landlords. So, we're talking about renting your property out, being a landlord. With COVID, there have been some changes because people have lost jobs. There have been forbearances that have gone on. Can you kind of just start with giving us a rewind and say, okay, this is where we are here, but why are we here anyway?
Due to COVID. So because we had the big shutdown, and so many of our tenants could not, pay their rent. And if they were not going to be able to go to work, there's just so many factors. And so the governor, one of the first things he did was put an eviction moratorium way back early March of 2020, which allowed tenants to be able to remain in their home and not have to pay rent. We couldn't charge late fees. We couldn't evict. We couldn't ask why they couldn't pay rent. So there were a lot of amazing policies that were put in place for tenants. And unfortunately, the landlords were not considered unless they had an FHA, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mac backed loan. Then they could ask for some tack on their mortgage payments on the end of their scheduled payments. But we don't really know how that actually all came to play, if anyone actually, and none of our property owners that we manage for actually had to go through that process. So we haven't seen how that worked firsthand. Right now, there are repayment plans out there for tenants and landlords to be able to collect some funds, but they also come with some certain rules that have to be followed. Like right now, we have until June 30th to offer repayment plans to all tenants that have not been able to stay current on rent. Tenants then have 30 days to accept that plan. And if they do, and they go to miss that first payment, then the landlord can begin the eviction process. But you have to be able to prove that you set the forms out correctly. And the right way is not registered mail. The right way is first class, U.S. postage. Everybody gets their mail that way. You can send an email with a follow-up, a read request, but the best way is first-class mail with your repayment plans, and follow that up with an email saying, hey, I've done this, and this is what the form is going to look like, and you can send that as well.
Interesting.
So this is new, is what, and
Yep.
then and they have until June 30th, like 2 days from now.
So, but then we were all excited. We were all prepared for, we had our ducks in a row, all lined up to get things sent out this week because the moratorium was supposed to end on June 30th. However, there are some policies and practices, governmentally speaking, that are not in place yet. So the governor has opted to extend the moratorium till September 30th so that their policies and practices can be set in stone. But now we don't know what we're supposed to do with our repayment plans needing to be out on June 30th when we can't send notices of rent increase. We can't send, there's so many things we cannot do at the moment. So we're hoping for a update Tuesday or Wednesday of this week from the governor's office. So I'm waiting to hear if they're going to extend our repayment plan form date to perhaps September 30th as well. So they've kind of forgot and left us behind on that because we can't do anything. There's a, it's not called safe haven. It's a safe harbor law that they put on the books for us that can help. If any tenants are on a month-to-month tenancy right now, the entire state has kind of followed Seattle's just cause, where we have 17 different just causes if you're a tenant that we have to give you if we need to evict. You know, owner's going to sell, owner wants to move back in, tenants are harming property, you name it. There's a vast majority of reasons why we can use any of those just causes, but it's been specifically to the city of Seattle. But now there is just cause statewide. So the governor's office put together this plan where any tenancy that began with a lease that was more than 6 months, you can offer your tenant to go back on a 6-month lease or more, and you will then take yourself out of the new just cause statewide, not the city of Seattle. It's already been there for far too long. But anything outside of the city, we had this opportunity beginning July 1st to offer our tenants to go back on a lease so that any tenants that lived outside of the city, Pierce County, let's say, down in Lacey or Olympia, any of those tenants that are now month to month, but originally signed a term lease, we can put them back on. And if they refuse to sign, we can begin the process to move tenants out if an owner wants their property back. Yeah. Easier than if they were strictly month to month. A little confused?
Oh, a lot of it.
And tomorrow they're going to change this on me. So I'm going to have to relearn it all tomorrow, probably.
Yeah. You know, LeeAnn, with the state made, and I've got kind of a two-part here, because one is kind of a context thing, but one is also Washington isn't necessarily just doing this completely on their own. I mean, the presidential administration is also moving things around on the eviction moratorium, et cetera, too, right?
The CDC extended their moratorium. Washington State is listening to, or the Supreme Court's listening to a case and are going to give a ruling, but we're not even going to hear that ruling until sometime the end of August on how the Supreme Court here in Washington State thinks that the CDC has overstepped their own boundaries. So there's a lawsuit, or there's a lawsuit. But we are not going to know anything about that till the end of August at the earliest.
Yeah. And just on a context thing, you mentioned about, hey, kind of excited about being able to get the wheels of motion going again with landlords have kind of been in a stasis for quite a while now without really being able to do anything. And sometimes there's almost a vilification of landlords, that every landlord is like a big rich person that's sitting there and just counting the money and just sitting back. But a huge number of property owners are really just maybe have a rental part. This is a part of their savings, their investment into the future. Like, how does that work? Because most landlords aren't necessarily these big, I don't know how you'd say it, like these big cats just sitting around counting.
So we have two different avenues of landlords, let's say. So you've got the mom and pops. That's what we call them. They're accidental landlords. They've inherited a piece of property and they don't know the laws, so they put it in professional management and they move on and they try to be able to become a housing provider to those that want to live in a home but cannot afford to buy. And those are the types of homeowners that we manage for. Property manager or property owners that have one, maybe two properties. The other side of the coin are those big conglomerates that own properties that are in the, over 100 units in a building. There are some companies out there that have bought up several distressed homes and have, flipped them and kept them as in their own management as well. And that's kind of a whole different pocket. And really, the hard part is that the legislator, well, I'll pick on Seattle City Council. They don't really want to talk to us as housing providers. They don't want to hear our input because we're the big bad guys. We're the guys that want to kick people out because we want more money in our property. Well, that's not really true. We're housing providers. We don't want to be looking for tenants all the time. We want to put a good tenant in a house and keep it occupied, or an apartment, and have tenants that pay their rent and, follow the yellow brick road, so to speak. Right. Yeah. So we don't understand why our voice and the voice that we represent personally, our company has over 550 units that we manage. So if each one of those properties are owned by a couple, let's say, two partners, that's a lot of voices that we manage. And you would think that the city council would want to hear from us, but they do not want to have a conversation with us because they don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
And right now we're very, very fortunate. We have maybe 2% of our tenants out of the 500 units that we manage. Maybe they are paying, but maybe not paying all the way at the moment.
Yeah. And when you say the truth, what you mean is it really context of the whole picture, that there's more than just one side to a story, rather than just a tenant being unduly stressed upon. Really, there are two sides trying to make this all work together to provide housing for people, right?
Right. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
Well, one of the things to give this also a little bit more context as well are the rules. So, and then also understanding, just saying, okay, we know, landlords, the responsibility of the property management is to help the landlord manage their asset, right? And also providing an outlet for the tenants to get into housing. And those people that maybe it's not, they can't afford a home, maybe it's just not the right time for them to purchase, or whatever reasons that are behind that. Definitely a mutually beneficial relationship that happens here. But seems now that things have kind of, maybe in some eyes, depending on who you're representing, have been swayed a little bit. Now, in the conversation of the rules, currently, if an owner, here I am, mom and pop landlord, I have a tenant that's in my property, the values have gone up tremendously. And you know what, we're needing to, we really want to have that conversation about maybe liquidating and selling, and I have a tenant in that property. There are rules. Can you talk a little bit about, can I just tell my tenant I need 20-day notice and we're going to sell and you need to move, or what do we do?
It's 120-day notice now that you're going to sell. And it is still our right as Americans to sell our properties if we so choose. However, if it is a single family residence, depending upon what county, what city it sits in, you want to make sure that you as an agent and or a homeowner have done your homework to know exactly where your property is sitting and what that particular municipality is requesting when it comes to notices, because they're not all the same. What we do in Seattle is going to be different than what they do in Yakima, or what Yakima does is going to be different than you do in DuPont or Lacey. So one of the things that they're talking about, and one of the reasons why the just cause law has just been passed statewide, is to try and get some of these laws systematic throughout the state. Because it used to be that Seattle had its own little world that we lived within when it came to all the laws, and the rest of the state was easy. We did our job. You paid your rent, you had a place to live. You didn't pay your rent, you maybe no longer have a place to live unless you work something out with your landlord. But it's not as easy as that anymore. And so hopefully, as we move forward, there will be some good things that do come out of all of this, and getting some of the notices that we have to give. You can no longer give a 3-day notice to pay or vacate in Seattle. It has to be once the moratorium's listed, it has to be a 14-day. Okay, got that. But is it 14 days in Lacey? Is it 14 days in Yakima or Spokane? I don't know. So again, we're going to have to try and figure out how we do that as we navigate the new normal here in the world of professional management.
Yeah.
And then you've heard a lot of talk about the repayment plan for tenants and landlords that have not been able to pay. There's some new forms that have come out from that. I'm happy to share them with Davina and Jurgen if anybody wants them. Just, send Davina or Jurgen an email, and I can get the forms for them if this is what you need. Be more than happy to help with that. It's just that there's about $14 million worth of financial aid out there, and about $20 million is needed today. And 14 million of it has already been spoken for, but none of it has been dispersed yet. So it's interesting because they don't have all the pieces of the puzzle together yet on how it's all going to be produced and facilitated, which is one of the reasons the governor actually extended the moratorium till the 30th of September. And,
LeeAnn, one of the reasons was looking forward to having you on as a guest is on Friday, started talking about there's going to be an extension, and that there's so much going on with the property management, or with the how all of this is going to come about. You mentioned also about the repayment possibilities, how that is going to take place. Why, like, when you still think about property management, and with all of the things that you need to navigate to do it well, to do it successfully, to do it legally, what is it about property management that you still see as being part of a huge benefit? Also, if anybody has a question out there right now, toss it into the comments. We'd love to bring it aboard. LeeAnn is just very, very skilled, good at what she does. She may not be able to get you a specific answer maybe for your specific area, but what she can do is help guide you to finding those answers. What is it about property management why are you still in it? Like, what is it about property management you still love, though? Even though it's become more complicated over time, why is this still important to you?
When I first started in real estate and got my license way back when, it's a good thing you can't see how gray my hair is today. I found that everyone needs a place to put their head at night, right? And not everybody can afford to buy. And it felt for me that I had the ability to match tenants and owners and places, and it just came very natural. And I've loved the business, and I've loved being able to, help that tenant eventually find a home to buy, or help that owner eventually sell that asset and move it to another platform. To tell you the truth, right now, it's becoming more and more difficult. And my business partners and I sometimes will actually say, time to buy that bar. It's time to serve drinks rather than just drink. But realistically, being a housing provider is I believe, the perfect link to the entire real estate industry. Most people move out of their parents' home into their first place, which is a rental unit. And from there, they get that feeling of being independent and want that next leap into home ownership. So it's very rewarding when you see the transitions from tenants to ownership and owners to another level.
Yeah, definitely so.
Yeah, definitely. There is also, LeeAnn, a thing that Washington State, and we haven't talked about this actually yet, but in Washington State, and I've heard this term for many, many years, but then of course we come to Washington State doesn't have it, and there's a thing called rent control.
Mm-hmm.
And something that we were having a conversation about, there is going to potentially be a change. Now, of course, for landlords, this, let's talk about that a little bit. What is rent control, and what is going to be in the forefront of conversation this next legislative session?
Sure. So Oregon and California do have rent control now. I believe Oregon just passed theirs last year in their last legislative session. And it will be on the forefront of our legislators here in Washington State in January when the new legislative session begins. And rent control is, if you go and ask people that are owners in New York or San Francisco, you'll understand that it's not good for the housing provider. Part of the problem with rent control is if today you were paying $2,000 a month for your house, as long as you live in that house as a rent controlled housing unit, it can never go up by more than X percent after the tenant vacates. While the tenant signed a lease at $2,000 a month, that stays there the entire time that tenant lives there. So it does not allow the housing provider to stay up with the economic growth of any particular area that might, that their home might be sitting in. It's just not the healthiest way to become an investor. If you want to invest in an area that has rent control, can be a little tricky. And right now, if Washington State wants to go to rent control, they've got to change some laws that are currently on the books for the state of Washington. We can't just have a councilman say, "Oh, I want to change this law. Let's just make it happen." There's some hoops that have to be jumped through, and they could be jumped through, but there's going to be a lot of conversation. So if you've got anyone in your audience that are housing providers and or that are agents that work a lot with housing providers, you're going to want to keep them listening to what's happening down in Olympia this coming legislative session, because it's out there. They want it.
That's good. And we'll definitely be interested in getting feedback along the way. And every time we talk about any potential issue that's out there, whether it's rent control or the repayment plans or the eviction moratoriums, et cetera, there's the kind of a layman way of saying it, which is, just this is what it is. But really, everything is way more nuanced than either side would really give it, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's really all about politics, and it has nothing to do with being, living in a house. It's so politicians can say, well, this was a bill that I worked really hard on and I was able to pass it. And so, and really they don't look at the ramifications of the bill they just passed, because there's so many other factors that fall into why a politician will bring, something to the forefront. And 9 out of 10 times there's a million other things within that bill that we never even hear about until we need to know about it, and we didn't even know it was in that bill. That happens a lot. So we here in Washington State, I belong to an organization called NARPM, which is National Association of Residential Property Managers. And we actually, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, hired a lobbyist so that we've got a perfect point of contact that is out there to help all of our housing providers. I think you've had him on your show before, Jim Henderson. He's amazing, and he's out of Pierce County, but he knows his stuff. So whenever I get stuck, Jim's on speed dial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. When you say lobbyist, sometimes there's a negative connotation in that, but really it's an advocate for what is important to the people that they represent. And there's a large like you were saying, very large underrepresented group of landlords or homeowners that unfortunately that side of the equation isn't necessarily the feel good part of the equation. And really the best thing people can do is, when you have an issue that's important to you, get educated, but get educated on both sides of the equation and understanding as best you can the ramifications of whatever's being proposed or asked to be brought into legislation, right?
Right. And the nice part about having a lobbyist that I had no idea is that he has been able to get firsthand knowledge when the governor is going to do A or B, because he is constantly, kind of poking the bear, so to speak, and trying to get the answers in as quickly as he can get the answers, so that we as housing providers, real estate agents, professionals, we need to know what we're doing so that we can represent our owners properly and inform our tenants correctly.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a nice. So his lobbying has changed the taste in my mouth a little bit about lobbyists.
It's not all just about a word.
No, it's not. No. So it's nice to have that. Prior to COVID, we had that foresight to say, hey, I think it's time that we have somebody down in Olympia that's got a voice for us as well. Because you'll see the tenants unions are really, really, really well collected. They know how to get in there and make their voices heard, where the housing providers, we're just not as organized as that, because we are working in the business every day, 24/7, 365. So we don't always try and figure out how to find that time to go in and make our presence known. So that's one of the things we're working on this year.
It's good.
Yeah. Good. Well, LeeAnn, there's so much, and as Jurgen mentioned, there's so many different things that are going on and changes that are happening. And you asked in the beginning, are you confused yet? And it's like, yes, absolutely. What would you suggest? If someone is just really, they're a landlord, owner of a property, and they just need to wrap their head around what's going on, what would you suggest the first thing they should do? RHA
is a really good spot, Rental Housing Association, but someone, an agent most likely sold you that property. And I think that those agents are your value point. Talk with those. Most clients and agents stay in contact, albeit sometimes not as much as other times. But if you as a housing provider have questions, you're welcome to reach out to Davina and Jurgen. You can reach out to me. But the best thing you can do for yourself as a housing provider is stay informed. Be informed. the ever-changing ebb and flow of these laws right now are absolutely, this is the hardest time in my 33 years of property management. This is definitely the hardest time. And it's not because tenants aren't paying their rent. It's because trying to understand the changing in the laws, and that in and of itself is the nutshell in all of this. Is if you don't know what's going on, then you most likely are going to find yourself in trouble. So make sure you're talking with your agent or talking with someone who absolutely knows, how to get you to the right spot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And, even all of this said, LeeAnn, just an encouragement to housing and, investment property is still a fantastic thing out there. Not only are you planting a seed into a potential retirement and investment, also into your stability and potential wealth down the road, but it's really is. I think this gets missed a lot. It really is providing a huge service. Housing is low. Options for housing is very low. And by being able to offer a property for somebody to be able to live in, especially different circumstances, it is really a valuable part of the whole fabric that we're in, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We like to say that we actually are in the oldest profession in the world because the cavemen found a cave to live in.
Okay,
right? Somebody probably had to manage that cave.
You tend to hear a different oldest profession, so I'm glad this is where we went.
Yeah, exactly. We like to say we're the oldest.
Okay.
All right. That would be a different show. So
Exactly. But I mean, everybody at the end of the day, I mean, you need to have a place to put your head, to go to bed, So I think that it's definitely valuable. It's definitely a fun industry if you can get around the laws and understand them. It is truly rewarding at the end of the day.
Yeah. And when you say get around the laws, really it's navigating the laws and just being able to stay compliant and do all the things that are needed to do to provide this service.
Correct. Absolutely.
All right. Well, 8:55. LeeAnn, so easy to. I actually learn a lot as I'm listening and especially right now because there is so much to be on top of because it's shifting a huge amount right at this moment, isn't it?
It is. It's a constant shift right now. But it's okay. I mean, it's keeping us all on our toes, right? It's keeping us all on our toes. It's definitely not something we can go to sleep and just hope it's going to go away. Let's just learn this and figure out how to navigate it and, move on down the road and find lots of great properties to invest in and get great tenants to move into them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, LeeAnn, for your time. Again, LeeAnn Ghiglione, she is here with us from our John L. Scott Seattle Northwest, and also a huge member of NARPM. And thank you so much for your time. And if anyone's watching this broadcast afterwards, and say if they do have a quick question, would it be okay for them to reach out to you personally as well?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just LeeAnn G at johnlscott.com.
Awesome.
Right? Yeah. So, shoot me out an email or ask Davina and Jurgen for my contact info. They'll give it to you.
You got it.
So much.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a great day. Stay cool.
You
friend.
too.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
LeeAnn.
you. Bye-bye.
Wow, that's a lot, but really important information. So I'm glad that she was on to share some of that. I mean, really enlightening on how much we don't know, right?
Yeah, and it's a tough one to navigate because there is so much, and there's good information out there, and there is misinformation out there in so many ways. And where you're approaching this part of the equation with property management, being a tenant or being a landlord, or just even potentially looking to be an investor down the road, it can be a little bit intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're definitely here to help. And from resources perspectives, we can help you out on where to find good information or connect you up with the right people to help you make, not to help to make a decision for you. No one can do that for you, but can give you really good information. So whatever decision you make, you can make an informed decision that's right for you.
Yeah. And she gave really good advice on, contacting their agent, their rental agent, or their property manager if they're having their property managed. And then also the resource in your local rental housing association. In every area jurisdiction, typically the counties, have their own rental housing association. So definitely look that up and contact them. Even if you aren't having any issues, call now. Or get information before you do so that you can be prepared. So.
Call now. Supplies are running low.
Yeah. So, knowledge is definitely, what is that? There was a quote that you shared just a few days ago about knowledge it's about the interest.
It's the best investment. That's a paraphrase, but yeah, I mean, knowledge is the best investment you can make in yourself.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, wraps up what we're doing here. We have some things that are going on within our office. So,
yeah,
right?
Actually, we have if you were paying attention, we had a trivia question.
Oh, yes.
Yes. The answer for the trivia question while we're in there. That trivia question being, right. The eviction ban in Washington State was extended to what date?
Oh, you guys got to get this, right?
Yeah. A, July 25th. B, August 28th. C, September 30th. D, October 15th. We've had one guess at least in there. That was for C, which was September what? Oh, I thought it was popping back up. Ah, there it is. September 30th. This morning, I feel like I've got the memory of a gnat. Like
How do you know how gnats memory?
Well, I knew it a moment ago, but I just forgot.
Okay. The answer is
September 30th.
September 30th. Yes. If you were listening, and that date was thrown out a few times while LeeAnn was talking. So, September 30th. So, and again, there's some unknowns, and just staying tuned, and we'll keep you guys updated as well as we learn more on what that means.
Just like this has been a moving target for since the whole eviction moratorium began. It's continued to extend more for a little bit. So yeah, this is one of the ones that if you are in potentially a landlord or are a landlord or a tenant, these are things you do want to stay a little bit on top of, because these do impact and affect you.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So do you have a few updates of in-house before we head out? Yeah,
we should have a couple quick ones. On Tuesday, this Tuesday, you're doing something, aren't you?
Yeah. So I get to host our career night tomorrow. It is an opportunity if you have a speck of interest, a mustard seed of interest in real estate, how to get into real estate and what it takes, and the process, then this time is for you. It's 5:30 tomorrow evening. There is a link. You can join via Zoom. And it's just about an hour. There's time for Q&A, and just takes you all the way through the process from beginning to getting licensed, and also an opportunity to even start your licensing. So join us tomorrow for our career night.
And then after that, we have our business meeting from 9 to 10 o'clock. It brings you all the things you need to know as you're engaged in real estate. If you're in real estate and you want an invitation in just to check out what's going on, just let us know in a private chat. We'd love to invite you. The best of everything going on in real estate, 9 to 10 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Yes. And then we have our Forms Friday. Are you hosting Forms Friday this Friday, Jurgen?
I don't believe so. I think Steve's back on it for this Friday.
Okay. So we have our Forms Friday from 9 to 10. This is open to any real estate professional. If you do real estate, then it is a time for you to jump in. We go through a specific form every week so that you can understand what those forms mean and how to best represent your clients.
Absolutely. And then one last one is we've got what we do here on Talent Talk, we do another Talent Talk on Fridays, which is a market update. So everything that's going on inside of the market, keeping you on top of what's happening, not only so you know what happened, what's happening, but also an idea of where we're going in the real estate market. So stay tuned. That is Fridays, 8:30 to 9 o'clock. A nice quick shot in the morning for you.
Yep. And it's fun. So, all right. Well, here we go. Off to another week and our last Monday in the month of June and well into the summer. So we are excited to just be able to be here and continue to do what we do as you continue to grow and we all learn together. So thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah. My sentiments today, even though it's always going to be bold, my sentiments are kind of like the when you didn't know what to write in a yearbook in high school, like at the end of the year, what was the go-to for people? Stay cool.
Oh yeah, it was stay cool, wasn't it? That's a real good one for today, right?
Absolutely. So
well, how about get
cool.
That
Yeah, it's about to warm up.
Yeah. So awesome. So let's go out. And Jurgen, you want to take us out today on those 2 words?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, again, our declaration. Do something today that's going to make you uncomfortable. And that's not the heat uncomfortable, but the uncomfortable that actually helps create and generate growth in your person and inside your soul. On 3, we make that declaration out loud. So we'll count it down. 3, 2, 1. Say big, be bold. Say it and mean it. And then we'll get off and have a great day. How's that?
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. Be bold.
Be bold.
Have a great day, everybody, and stay cool today.
Yes. Hydrate.
All the time. All right. Bye.
Bye.